So in 2020, when we had the COVID plague, I had been working with the idea of rotating forces for a number of years. And when 2020 came, I had the impression that with the COVID situation, that there was like this big tidal wave of consciousness that was heading our way for anybody who wanted to receive it, to be open to it. And I also got the impression that 2020 was going to be my personal year of unfolding, the year of unfolding, I used to call it. And it certainly turned out to be that way. So, to cut a long story short, what I discovered was that I could use rotational forces on certain key parts of people who I tried this experiment on, and it would give them a feeling of what we are now thinking of as this sphere field around us. Only I didn't have words to describe it in that way at that time. But that was the effect. It was the same opening effect of our whole cells opening up. And when I put a foam roller underneath the backs of people's heels while they were lying down, when they breathed in, I would gently rotate the foam roller towards their feet, not towards their head. And it wouldn't actually be a big rotation. It would just be applying a force so that there would be a drag. They would feel a drag or a tension or a force trying to move the backs of their ankles away from their body. And what would always happen as they breathed in and they felt that rotational opening force, their breathing would slow and over time get very, very deep. And they would drop into this really incredibly relaxed state within just a very short space of time. And again, the upshot of this little story is that we can use the same principles that I found using that rotational foam roller, which actually in that experiment also included putting something behind the head of the person, just at the base of the skull, and having something that they could put their hands onto that was very tactile. And I used to use spiky balls, those balls that you stand on to help the acupuncture points on the bottom of your feet. So they would be lying back with input coming into their body from behind their ankles, behind their occiput, and through their palms. And this was how I got this lovely, relaxed opening effect. And it would always happen. So it was a very reliable procedure. And we can do the same thing just using points behind the ankles, behind the occiput, and there's a little bit of a modification when it comes to the hands, because instead of using our hands, we can think of this point here on the outside of the wrist. There's a hollow just near the wrist crease. It's a acupuncture point, small intestine 5, which also, if you look it up, has an opening effect on the consciousness pretty much. It helps all our processing. You think of small intestine is a digestive processing organ, so it has an effect of clearing that organ so that we can process and experience things as being clearer. So we're working now, rather than with rotational forces, which is a conversation for another video, we're just working primarily just on points, strategic points on the body. And each of them, coincidentally, you might say, are dip zones in the body, right? Think of the body as being a set of curved structures in our body. We have dips and we have bumps, right? And the dips have a different role to play as human beings in physical bodies interacting with an environment around us, to what we could call the more bumpy parts of our bodies, which have a different role. So what we're doing here is we're focusing in on some very carefully selected strategic dip points in the body, and we're going to see how they apply to opening our sphere. So if we can just start to bring our attention to the space around us, and then start to bring our attention also to those 3 sets of points. So behind the ankles, behind the outer wrist crease on both hands, and behind the occiput. Yep. So if that's a little bit hard to relate to, it might be actually worth lying down with a foam roller underneath your ankles, and it might be worth just putting something in your hands like spiky balls, just to get a little bit more awareness in that general region of your body. And also maybe just putting a hand behind your neck and pulling the back of your head up a bit, or even putting a soft spiky ball in there and doing the same thing, just to help activate those parts of your body so they're easy to feel. Now, if we want to subtly, without drawing attention to ourselves, open our energy sphere, these 3 sets of points can absolutely do that. If you practice with them, and if they need some more sensitizing, just follow the steps that I just outlined, with maybe a foam roller, maybe some spiky balls, and maybe some stimulation to the back of the skull. Now, so here we are in our sphere, and we're thinking of the space around us, but then we can also include those points and see what the effect of those points is. The good thing with this is you can walk when I first started doing this, I had to walk very slowly. Walk very slowly, but with practice you can walk at a brisk pace and still keep your awareness on the points behind your heels and anywhere else that you want to go. Now, the other thing with points, strategic points, is that they like being moved around a bit, okay? So you may find, oh yes, I found the sweet spot that you're talking about, Nigel. With a bit of practice, you might get that feeling of, yes, I've really nailed it. But they like to be moved around, just like anything gets bored, starts to switch off if you keep using the same approach to a thing. It starts to get a bit stale. So those points love to be moved around. They love to transition from being behind the ankle to behind the heel, for example, and then maybe back to behind the ankle. And just by experimenting, you may find that these points are just wonderful for one of our methods for subtly opening our field without great expressive gesture, right? Which isn't always a very appropriate thing to do.